Hey everybody, and welcome back to Life with Lilo. It is time for our weekly recap of Greenleaf. This is season 5, episode 5, and it was titled The Fifth Day. Alright, y'all. I'm sorry that this review is late. I thought I recorded it yesterday. And I didn't. I was just sitting here like prepping stuff, and I was just like, all right, I'll wait until about 9:30 so I can hit it on the DVR, and I can fast forward through all the commercials and stuff like that, because the commercials be long and redundant and stuff like that. Child, I get up, I look, I said, where the hell is Greenleaf on my DVR? I forgot to record it because I'm so used to watching it when it's on TV. I forgot to put it on my schedule freaking recordings. I was so bummed, but it came back on at like midnight or whatever, and I was like too exhausted to stay up and watch it. So I just finished watching it. So here is the review. Again, I apologize for the delay or whatever, but your girl, yeah. Anyway, here we go. So it opens up with Grace. She opening up the French doors or whatever, and she's in Sophia's room. She like opening up the curtain. She like, wake up, wake up. Sophia like, what are you doing? It's like 9 o'clock in the morning. She was like, yeah, I know. It's time for your grandma church service downstairs in the kitchen or whatever. And she was like, I told you I'm not going. She was like, oh, you going? So you need to go on, get up, and come on down there. She was like, she too tired and stuff. And she was like, what you tired from? She was like, I was up all night texting the stupid girls from Hampton or whatever. And her mom like, well, what's going on? She was like, nothing, she don't want to talk about it. Because remember, we know what's going on, but her mama don't know. She ain't tell her mama about the photos and all the other stuff. So she like, instead of saying like, telling her what's going on, she just says, all right, I'll come down there for the brunch and for the service or whatever. Grace is like, you a Greenleaf, both of them are the same. So you coming down there for the brunch, you gonna be staying for church services as well. So then we see Jacob, he getting ready. Clarissa is talking about, are you gonna tell Zora about the divorce after the service? And he was like, yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. So she was like, so you still gonna go through with it? And he was like, yeah. She was like, oh, even though your mom thinks it's wrong or bad or something like that, so you're going to go against your mama and stuff. And he like, oh, now you want to take my mama advice. You don't even like my mama, so why you bring my mama into this? And she like, well, she was like, well, if you intent on destroying our children's lives and stuff. And I'm like, girl, stop. Because you the one who brought it. Like, come on now. You brought home chlamydia. Like... That's nasty, okay? But anyway, he brings up her affair. And I'm like, Jacob, you got your nerve because you was sleeping with like 3 other people. You was cheating on her 3 times or whatever. But no guy like a woman, his woman cheating on him. As soon as the girl cheat on the guy, oh, it's all over. But he could cheat 20, 15,000 times and it'd be fine or whatever. And this is what's going on in the case of Jacob and them. So, she just kind of looked at him or whatever and left. Then we see downstairs Charity singing. They all singing together and stuff like that. And child, her dress was short. I said, why am I seeing all up your like I'm seeing your upper thigh? Like I shouldn't see your upper thigh. I understand you in the house or whatever, the church services in the house, stuff like that. But yeah, no. That dress was short. But anyway, May she get up there and she doing like some announcements and stuff, and she thanks AJ and Corinne for coming. Bishop was like, well, because they asked about her grandmom and stuff, and she said that the grandma wanted to see Calvary one last time before it got tore down on Tuesday and stuff. And here go Bishop. I don't understand why they in there and would join the conjuring or some shit he said. And they was like, conjuring? He was like, yeah, what else would you call breathing unholy life into a corpse? I was like, well, damn. And then somebody, I think May said something about, it was, what she say? Something about positive, that the Lord brought us here, or something she said. And Clarissa was like, well, what's so great about today, or some shit. I say, here she go, all negative. They panned on Sophia. Sophia looked like she was over all of it. And then Clarissa kept saying something negative, child. Bishop was basically like, look, shut up and concentrate on the positives, goddammit. But he didn't say that. He was just like, he was like, we should concentrate on the positive things that God has brought us or whatever, or something like that. But basically, it was like, shut the fuck up with all that negativity. That's what I heard. May was asking, does anybody else have any other announcements and stuff? And nobody said anything. So she was like, okay, so today's message will be about new beginnings. So then it's the brunch time. Child, that food look good. Them waffles, I was like, I want a Belgian waffle so bad. Them waffles was big and thick. Oh my God. But anyway, Sophia and Zora are in the brunch line and they talking about the screenshot. So Zora was like, I thought we deleted everything. She was like, yeah, but somebody who was friends with, what's that boy name? Something with a D. What's it, Damon? Dante. She was like, somebody who was friends with Dante screenshotted the picture off his thing, and now he passing it all around Hampton or whatever. So that's why all the girls and stuff is texting her, because before in the beginning when Grace left her room, she had like ding 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 all these text messages or whatever. So that's why all the girls and stuff is texting her, because they saw the news of her or whatever. So Charity is like, what's going on, y'all okay? She was like, oh yeah, we fine. We was just saying about how they probably missed you at the church or some shit like that. And Corinne was saying like her grandmom is texting her throughout the whole church service. So you know the church service garbage if the old lady texting through the whole, because they be intent focus on that. They don't even use the Bible on the phone. They thumbing through. So you know the church service garbage, because her grandmama texting through the whole damn thing. She giving her updates on the thing. She like, it's bad. Skeletor up there singing. Like, it's just bad or whatever. So next we see Noah and Grace. They talking about Concentration Sunday or whatever. That's when Grace lost her virginity up in the church. I said, well, she was a fast ass or whatever. So they just kind of reminiscing. Then we see Bishop and May, they talking, and he was telling her like, you know, that was a good service, honey. He gave her a little kiss and stuff. And then he was telling her, because she wants to go to see Tara to get the house, you know, because remember last episode, Tara was saying like she called back and said that she had a epiphany, a revelation, whatever, and she wanted to talk about the house again. So May was like, yeah, I'm going over this. So he was like, well, let me go with you. It's a rough neighborhood. She was like, two Greenleaf men that went there, and they didn't bow down to her. Like, let me see what this all about, and let me handle this or whatever. Because this shit call her a skank. I said, what? I think she called her a skank. I said, May is a mess. But she was just like, pray for her. She put her purse on and she walked on out. We see AJ, he walking around and stuff like that. Bishop kind of go up to him and, you know, he was like, you're not hungry? He was like, oh yeah, I'm waiting for the crowd to go down or whatever. He was like, oh, okay. And then, and we see Clarissa and Jacob, they fighting about Winky then got a cinnamon roll or some shit. She was like, I already told him no. Why would you go back against me and stuff? Like, I ain't know that you had already said no. So then they fussing. So then Bishop like, So then AJ said something about what he learned in the hospital, where people want to tear stuff down just to look inside of it and, you know, check it out or whatever. And then Bishop, you can see like the light bulb going off in his head. He was like, come with me. AJ like, what I done walked into? He was like, no, come in with me. I'm telling you, for real, come with me or whatever. So he goes with him and because he was like, promise I'm gonna try to save you or whatever like that. So AJ goes with Bishop or whatever. Then we see Tara. She handing out like bags of like brown paper bags of food and stuff to the people who left the church and stuff. May, she watching her from the car. Then we see her in the church and she like, well, how many years have you been here or whatever? Or how many years have you been helping people out? She was like, I've been in this place for 2 years, but I've been preaching, you know, for a long time, but I don't stay in one place for too long, because she flew or whatever. I guess the bills get too high and then she bounced or whatever. And so May was like, well, hesitant and encourage you to do more or something like that. And she was like, what you mean? And she was, because she was like, well, I feed the people in the neighborhood, I do this in the neighborhood, all this stuff. So she was like, well, hasn't it made you want to feed more, like tens of thousands, preach to more, like tens of thousands, help those in need tens of thousands and stuff like that. And she was like, well, I just do what the Bible tell me. Like Jesus, he started with a small, a small group or whatever like that. So I just go by the word or whatever. So May was like, well, now you want my house. And she was like, well, I could do so much with that house or whatever. And remember, I told y'all, I think she want, like I said last time, I was like, she going to say she want this house because she can turn it into a shelter, a women's center, all this stuff. And that's exactly what she said. She said she can turn it into like a shelter for domestic women, not domestic women, domestic abuse women, homeless people, children, foster, like all this stuff. So she wants to turn it into that. And May just kind of laughed and she was like, what? She was like, well, I had preached new beginnings today to God or whatever, and he has a sense of humor or whatever. And then she tells her that she's doing good work and then she leaves. We go back to the house and we see AJ and Bishop, and they like in this barn or this big shed or something like that. And Bishop goes to take this covering off of this big ass box. AJ helped him and stuff. And it was a car, like a 64 GTO. But it was like a big box. So it was like a car in pieces. So it was like pieces of a car and stuff like that. He was like, he wanted a 64 GTO. He asked his dad every year after he turned 16 for a GTO because that was his dream car. He asked JJ. He asked AJ about his dream car, and he said it was a Beamer or whatever. He didn't care what color, whatever. He just wanted a Beamer. And so Bishop was like, well, I asked my dad for this dream car every year, and so about 18, his dad said, well, your dream has come true or whatever. And he got all excited and stuff and came down to the driveway, and that big ass box was in the driveway. My feelings would have been hurt so bad. But anyway, Bishop was saying like he know because his dad wanted to teach him like you can't get something for nothing. Basically, you got to work hard. You got to put your all into it or whatever, or you're not going to get the outcome that you want. So but he never got the nerve to put the pieces of what was in the box together. So AJ was like, well, I don't know how to put no car together. And Bishop was like, neither do I, but if you help me put this car together, the car is yours or whatever like that. So AJ just started smiling. Then we see Grace, and she's talking to Noah in her room or whatever, and she's telling Noah like everything that went on, like no leads, how they can't get Phil's dad to talk, and how they gotta get something on what was that white man name? Y'all know what I'm talking about. Ben, something. I can't think of his name. But get something on him so they can stop the construction. Noah like, well, you think it's going to work? Yeah, we can get it in time or whatever like that. So he's sitting there thinking like, well, why would why would the lady leave the house to Daryl? So his wheels are spinning or whatever. Like, because you can see Noah, he be looking so special. I was just like, what in the world? Like, you can see him. Like, he just, the wheels is just going. But anyway, y'all, then he tells Grace, like, you look like you tired or something like that. And she like, I am. I've been doing all this stuff. And so he pulls the pillow down and pats his little lap, and he like lay down and rest. And she like, this ain't concentration Sunday. I said, girl, he asked you to slob on him. He told you to lay your ass down. So she was just like, all right. So she had finally agreed and stuff. And then you can see him sitting there still thinking. Then we see Corinne. She like, look, I got to go. Grandma, I'm going through it. She was like, what's going on now? This is Charity. What's going on? She was like, girl, after church services, they had a whole goddamn wrecking ball outside. They outside with construction hats on, Skeletor and Phil taking selfies. I said, are you serious? Now that's just seemed too much. After church services, like, come on now. Charity can't believe it. She like, I cannot with this. So she was just like, God is good. She said all the time they went on their way. We see Zora and Sophia, they talking and stuff. They still talking about the pictures and stuff. Sophia saying how she don't want to go back to Hampton. She'll just stay there with them and whatnot. And then we see Charity. She asks Zora and Sophia to come over and watch the baby because she want to do something real quick or whatever. And they was just like, okay. And so you can see Sophia, she look kind of like, I don't really want to watch the baby and stuff like that. I guess because she can't have kids, but I'm like, just because you can't have kids doesn't. Some people who don't have kids flock to children more because they can't have their own. So they have like, relationship with kids or whatever like that. So I was just kind of like, Sophia, you could be around a child. Like, is that gonna make you sad and stuff? But I don't know. But Zora was like, no worries, I got him and stuff. And then here comes Zora parents coming in asking Zora to step out. So then Sophia was alone with the baby and stuff. And why that baby looking at Sophia like, they left you with me? I was cracking up at that little baby face. But then we see Charity. She calls Phil's daddy, and he's just as rude as ever. Look here, pastor. What'd he say? Look here, preacher woman, or some shit he said. I told you not to call back here or whatever. Charity like, look, this ain't Grace. This is me, Charity. And he was just like, oh, okay. And she was like, well, because he said Greenleaf or something. She was like, well, I was almost a whatever that man last name is. Let's start with a D. Child, I'm so sorry. Like, my mind is somewhere else, and I'm really trying. So forgive me because I can't remember nobody's name at this time. But then again, y'all know I'm bad with names. But anyway, he was just like, all right, well, you got 2 minutes or whatever. So then we see AJ and Bishop. They talking and eating, and I guess they was talking about religion or something like that. And AJ said, I don't know what he said. Because they came in, it was like they came in on a conversation or whatever. So they were already having a conversation. So we really didn't know what they were talking about. And then Bishop said, like, religion is an experience and stuff like that. And AJ was like, okay. And then he was like, I'm going to tell you something. Jesus is real. And so, not Bishop, AJ was just looking at him or whatever. And then Bishop sees May come in the door. And he like, oh, okay, excuse me. He was like, how'd it go? She was just like, I don't want to talk about it. He was like, no. Now, you said you was a woman, a Greenleaf, and you was going to go down there and handle stuff. I want to know how it went. And so, she like, we need to give her the house. He like, why? Because she said so? She was like, no, because God said so. Or Jesus said so, or whatever. And, he was like, he said something, and she was like, well, that's what we gonna do. That's what we gonna do, Bishop, or whatever. And he was like, well, he didn't tell me or whatever. And so she went upstairs, and then we see Zora and Jacob and Clarissa. They talking. She made a joke like, it's not my fault or whatever like that. And they was like, what? And she was like, well, you know how the parents sit you down when they about to get divorced and stuff, and they tell you it's not their fault. It's not your fault or whatever like that. And I was just joking or whatever. And so they was like, well, you know, yeah. You was on the money because we getting a divorce or whatever. And she was just like, oh, well, I guess I know how to read a room. And so she was just like, all right, well, what you want me to say? Like, you could tell she getting emotional and stuff like that. And she like, well, what you want me to say? Like, you want me to say, like, yeah, y'all want to stay together. I want y'all to stay together, whatever like that. Well, I'm happy Mom finally leaving you and stuff like that. So she putting it all on Jacob. And so Clarissa was basically like, look, it's not all Jacob's fault. It's my fault. No, she didn't say it was my fault, but yeah, I think she did say it was my fault. And Zora was like, well, how is it your fault? What, cooking, cleaning, doing all this stuff while he's sleeping with Alexis and all this other stuff? And he like, whoa, you wasn't there or some shit. I've been there for all of it or something like that. And then Clarissa was like, because Zora kept trying to get up to go, and Clarissa was like, look, I'm trying to tell you, it's not all his fault or whatever like that. We both made our mistakes or missed our mark or some shit. And Zora was like, ugh, I'm disgusted. I'm leaving. Can I go? Why am I even asking? I'm out. And so she left or whatever like that. And Clarissa was just like, look, I'm still willing to drop this, but after we tell Winky, it's over. Like, I'm not going to tell him, or because they taking him to a child psychiatrist to tell him that they get a divorce. She was like, I'm not going to put him through that and I don't have to. So, like, after tomorrow, after we, tell Winky and stuff like that, it's done. And he was just like, understood or whatever. I was just like, ugh. Then we see AJ with Sophia. He asking her what's up. She's trying to say nothing or whatever like that. She's saying like, people suck and she's an idiot and whatnot. And I'm just gonna get them out the way. So AJ was just like, well, what's going on? Like, what's the problem? You need to tell me what's the problem, whatever like that. You need me to talk to somebody and stuff. And she was like, talk to who? And he was like, the baby. Like, he joking or whatever. And she like, no, it's cool. And he was like, no, for real though, what's wrong with you? Like, what's going on? And she obviously told him or whatever like that. And she was like, he was just like, well, you got to go back to Hampton. And she was like, I don't want to go back to Hampton. And he was like, well, look, I didn't you going through this one little thing. I done been through all this stuff and look at me like or whatever. And she was just like, well, you better than me. And he was like, well, damn, you ain't got no balls or nothing like that. You need to woman up a type thing. And she was just like, well, you talk to me when you got your dick all online and stuff. I said, oh. Okay. And she was just like, I just wanted them bitches to go away, because he kept asking her like, what do you want? And she was like, I just want them bitches to go away. And he was like, no, what do you want for us? She was like, I don't know, I want to stay here with y'all. Like I don't want to go back to Hampton. I want to just stay here with y'all. And he was like, well, then stay or whatever, if that's what you want to do. And she was like, well, you ain't gotta say it like that. He was like, well, what you saying is real lame, like, because you just want to stay here. Like, you see all these people in the business house, like. He was like, I don't care if we grew up together, skipped rocks and all this other shit. Like, you would still have to grow up and move on out. Like, he said, what did he say about, she said, Charity, Jacob, and all them, they still living up in here. Grown-ass people still live at home. Like, you need to move out. And, he was basically schooling her ass. And then, so she was just like, whatever. Like, she really wasn't trying to hear it and whatnot. And he was just like, all right, well, I'm just saying. And so Noah came down and, was like, AJ, you ready to go? He was like, yeah, I'm ready to go. And so he, left or whatever. So let me go back up where, Grace was in the room. Cause, yeah. So Grace was in the room. She obviously fell asleep or whatever like that. Remember, she was laying on Noah's lap. And she woke up and was like, oh my God, how long I been asleep? He was like, you only been asleep for about an hour. And she was like, oh, I'm sorry. You know, I didn't mean to sleep that long. He was like, it's okay. You was tired. Like, whatever, you was just sleeping. So he was just like, it gave me time to think. And he was like, when I lived in the cabin, it was this old journal. And it kept saying like, it was the caretaker's journal. And it was like a ledger of people that he paid and all this other stuff. And he was saying like the caretaker, he had made like sketches of the house and all this other stuff as if the caretaker was going to get the house. And in the ledger, it kept saying the Negro came by today, the Negro came by today, the Negro came by today. And she was like, well, who was the Negro? She was like, the caretaker was white or whatever. And she said that the lady who wrote the will was also white. And she was just like, what? And she was like, well, maybe the Negro that he was talking about was Daryl or whatever. And so Bishop come in there. I was like, I need to talk to you right now. And he was talking about Grace. And so Noah was like, oh, okay, it's all right. I'll leave or whatever. I was about to get AJ and hit on out anyway. So that's how Noah ended up going downstairs getting AJ. But then Bishop was like, look, I just talked to May. She told me she went over there and then she gonna get this house to this lady because she said Jesus told her to do it and stuff. And I don't even, like, I'm gonna say what your daughter say. I can't even. I was cracking up. I was cracking up when he said it. But he was like, we gotta offer her some moolah or something like that. And she was just like, well, how much do you need? And he was like, well, how much you got, basically. And so we see Charity. We saw Zora. She was in a family cabin. She was crying over the family picture and stuff like that. Then we see Charity. She's still on the phone with Phil's dad. He was like, after she was done and stuff, she was like, and then you see why, whatever. And he was like, well, yeah, that was cute and all that. But, I mean, that was over 2 minutes. I said, you could have hung up same way you hung up on Grace. But she was just like, well, I just wanted to tell you that it was more than business and stuff. And so she started asking him, like, well, what did your wife do for the finance company, or what did she do for Bill, or whatever that man is? And he was like, we got a saying here, the river only flows one way, and it doesn't have anything to do with the river. I said, what? I didn't get it. I ain't get it. I'm a little slow sometimes because I ain't get it. But then he was saying like, he said something else, and then he basically banged on her ass. Like, click him. I said, oh, so you sat there and listened to this whole story and then you hung up on her? Like, that's some rude ass shit. But then we see Grace. She at the cabin. She sees Zora crying and stuff like that. Because Zora was like, oh, she's not here. And she was like, what's wrong? What's going on? So Zora told her like the Rents was getting divorced and stuff like that. And so Grace was like, oh man, what's going on or whatever. She was like, I'm here for you. You okay? So that's going through. She was trying to, comfort her and stuff like that. Zora really wasn't interested in the comfort. She was basically like, what brought you down here? She was like, well, no, what brought you down here? Go on and tell me. So she told her about the journal and stuff. And Zora was like, oh, well, all the old stuff is in a box underneath the bed. You can go check it out or whatever. So you can see that Grace want to jump up. And she was like, no, let me make sure she all right before I jump up. So she checked on her again. Was like, well, I'm here if you need to talk. She was like, I understand. Okay. And so Grace, she went over there. She went in the box and stuff. She found the ledger. She was like, flipping through the ledger. It had like pictures of the house, like sketches of the house, and then it had like writing on the other side. So we don't know what exactly it said, but it did have pictures in there, and it did have some writing in there. So I guess they're gonna dissect that next episode. We see May, she fussing at Bishop about asking Grace for the money and stuff like that. He like, well, she want to help or whatever. And she was like, but that is based off my secret, like a 40-year-old secret that I kept inside me for all them years. And now you want to use that money and stuff like that. He was like, look, I understand what you're talking about, but look, we got to get this lady under check or whatever. We can't lose this house and stuff like that. And, she was just like, I want the new church to be built on honesty and truth. And I want it to be built sturdy. I don't want it built on no lies or nothing like that. So he like, look, she like, cause what he said something. And I think he said it's because it's what she wants. She was like, no, it's what God wants or whatever like that. And so he just kept saying, like, Grace is trying to help. And so she said, we giving Tara the house or whatever. And he was just like, no, come on, you making me look like a murderer and stuff like that. And then Charity walks in, and she actually has some clothes on, praise God. And she tells them that she's going down to the church and stuff, and would y'all like to come? And they was like, no. May was like, no, I don't want to come. And I like that little flowy thing she had on. That was so cute. But at any rate, she was like, no, maybe it was a different time. She was like, look here, we going down here to say thank you to the church. Like, we need to come on down here or whatever. So they all in the church after hours and stuff. I guess Charity had an extra key. They walking in the halls, they're just looking at the offices and stuff like that. Then they go inside the big vestibule and they go on the stage, and Bishop is talking, and they talking about Good Friday and how Jesus died on the cross and stuff. And he told her that what did he say? He was like, you can give her to church if you want to. And May was like, no, that's what he wants or whatever, talking about Jesus. And so what happened? Oh, so then they back at Tara's church or whatever. So they was walking in on a conversation. And so she was like, well, Clarissa is taking Winky. And he was like, so it's a done deal or whatever. And she was like, well, unless something happens and whatever. And so they were saying, like, we can talk to Tara, and I'm hoping she's going to be reasonable on a good timeline and stuff like that. And then they get up there, and they at the church door, they knock on the door. Tara opened it. She was like, oh, that was fast. Y'all was just, here or whatever. And then who do we see next to Tara? Rochelle. Child, I said, at first I thought Macy was going to come from around that corner, but no, it was Rochelle. And Rochelle was like, I told you the Greenleafs was like a bad penny. You never get rid of them or whatever. And they just looking like, and they following her out the door. Rochelle calling for her car service. And Tara standing there looking dumb as a doorknob, child. And that was how it ended. I said, ooh, child. May looked at her like, really, bitch? Really? Like, we trusted you, and really, this is okay. So that's how I really ended, y'all. Y'all let me know what y'all felt about this episode. Next week, I did see the previews for that, and that looks good. So it looked like they rethinking to give up the house because they realized that they both con artists. And I'm like, well, what did you think? Like, we knew she was talking to somebody, but we didn't know who she was talking to. But I mean, look, if they like Macy or Basie and Rochelle is her sister, like, or is sister and brother. Like, what did you expect? Like, come on now. That girl may be good, but if they pulling the strings, then Y'all better back up out of there and don't tell her. Like, I don't even understand why Bishop told her about the house and the land, all that stuff. Like, come on now, Bishop. You was just telling her too much, and you knew who her kinfolk was. Anyway, y'all let me know what y'all thought about this episode. If y'all like this review, go ahead and hit that thumbs up button. And if you're not subscribed to my channel and watching this video, go ahead and hit subscribe and hit the notification bell to be notified when I drop new videos. All right, y'all. Until next time. Peace.